And in a 41-paragraph address in nationwide broadcast to Nigerians by President Bola Tinubu on the nation's economic challenges, some key points were raised. President addressed Nigerians on current economic challenges, emphasizing the need for policy measures to combat them. He also explained the reasons for ending the fuel subsidy regime, which had become a burden on the economy and source of enrichment for a selected group of Nigerians. And to give an in-depth analysis into this broadcast, yes, like I said earlier, we've been looking at it from various angles, but a professor of accounting, Nile University of Nigeria, Professor Ofili Ugwudioha, he is now the one joining us from our Abuja studios to look very critically at this. Thank you so much, Prof. Good to have you in the studio. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Tolu, how are you? Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Yes, first, Prof, I'd like to start with the interventions that you've seen in that speech, a number of them for small businesses, for the manufacturing sector, and all of this is what the government is looking at the moment. First, what will be your reaction? Many say the president seems to be in tune or seems to understand what people are going through at this time, considering the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy.
Yeah, thank you once again. From the speech of the president, it looks like a man who is ready to start solving the problem of Nigeria. Some of them not inflicted on the nation by him, but by the previous administration. Because I always say that Tinubu did not remove subsidy. It is Buhari that removed the subsidy. He sustained subsidy up to the end of his regime and now pulled it out at the end of his regime for the next government or next administration to now battle with the hot water here. So that is the issue. Then, from what the president said, it's good to hear that he has saved 1 trillion naira within a short period of 2 months. That's a very good one. And having saved this, we also saw what he wanted to apply the money for. Then we start with the nano group of MSMEs. He's giving them around 100 billion, and that 100 billion, if appropriated into the number of people, as he said, it all means each of them will be getting around 50,000 naira. And that 50,000 naira is one all. It's not something that will continue. And if you check the value of 50,000 naira to a business, yes, we call these people nano businesses. And some of them, let's give, for instance, a hairdresser, an auto mechanic, a mechanic, what do you call the other one? A mechanic workshop, and of course, panebita. All these people need money. I mean, they need fuel since there's no power. They need power to power their businesses. And since they need this power, this 50,000 naira cannot even power their business for 1 month. So if you give it for them for 1 month, what happens after 1 month? Can they stabilize with 50,000 naira that powers a business for 1 month? Then that's the question there. Then another one is the sharing of money. I've always been saying that sharing of money never solved any problem. If it solves in other clime, it never solved the problem in Nigerian society. It rather engenders some scandals, it engenders some corruption, it engenders a lot of things that are not good for the economy. Some of these things are what we are being rated outside as the worst in terms of implementation of policies. So sharing of money cannot solve the problem. I feel that what can solve the problem of this nano group or even the general MSMEs is give them power, electricity, give them security of lives and property, give them infrastructure. This will enable the economy which they run to run like other economies. Because if they have light, Some businesses across the globe run 24-hour businesses and economy. It's only in Nigeria you see economic activities running for 8 hours and ending because night has come. Night has come because there's no power to operate business, because there's no security of lives and property in the night, because there's no infrastructure that will enable people to move their activities from one place to other in the night. Particularly, look at our road. Most vehicles that ply in the night ply at the mercy of God because the road is so bad. And when the road is so bad, at the bad junction, this is where the bandits stay and unleash their horror and terror on the people. So these are the critical areas where government should come in. And if they come into this area, Nigerians are not lazy people. They can leverage on these things provided by the government to operate their businesses. If you look at what happens, initially it was the mega firms, the multinationals that relocated to our neighboring countries. Now, even the small businesses from Nigeria, they are operating it from outside because of these three basic conditions that I mentioned that doesn't allow, these three things do not allow business to exist well. A person will establish a business now, within 2-3 years, it fizzles out because he's tired of buying fuel, he's tired of providing security, he's tired of not moving his goods from Kano to Lagos or from Lagos to Kaduna because of insecurity, because of bad road, because we don't even have railway. If all these things are put in place, every Nigeria will be happy and every Nigeria will do his or her own business. We don't need sharing of money. Money engenders a lot of problems. And by the time these problems start coming, government will know what I'm saying, that it will bring more problem than solving the problem. That's
Prof, let me follow up with... Let me follow up because we started talking already about the expectations. Now, I want us to look at proper implementation of some of these initiatives, like for the manufacturing sector. We know what's been happening around that space for some time. And if each manufacturer in every notable maybe sector of the economy is getting 1 billion naira each at 9%, definitely there should be an impact. Let's now look at the impact of those that will get this fund. I'm not looking at the nano businesses now. For manufacturing, what clear impact do you think this would have to help manufacturers that have been laying off workers, and facing other challenges?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tolu, for this. I've said something about this manufacturing sector before, that manufacturing in Nigeria cannot thrive without working 24 hours. If you go to Dangote Group, where they are producing, if you go to Lafarge, they are producing 24 hours. They are not producing 8 hours. And sharing this money will not even help them. What will help them is all these things I mentioned. It is even much more needed for the manufacturing sector than the nano businesses. Then, after this, you look at how to assess loans. The president has said they will assess this. Who is to implement this? The one CBN have been implementing for more than 15 years never reach the actual manufacturers. The one they are implementing for the farmers never reach the actual farmers. And again, it's only a few banks, like Bank of Industry, or maybe the Bank of Agriculture, that can do this. 200 million Nigerians are doing businesses. They need to access loan from either commercial bank or any other bank. And the gap between what the commercial bank gives will not be too far from what other banks give. Because when commercial bank is giving a loan at 22 to 30%, and the other ones will give at maybe around 9% or 8%. And those people that will assess the 9% will be less than 1 to 5% of the population doing business. This cannot solve it. Look at the CBN monetary policy rate. I always say that monetary policy rate is just the base rate. It is from there that the bank build up the other rates, other costs that they will add to MPR to give their loan. And the loan as of today is 22 to 25. And sometimes, depending on the value and the stand in the business, sometimes it goes to 30. So if government does not look at the general lending rate, it will continue to give manufacturers this problem. It will continue and continue. And again, apart from lending rate, security of lives and property should be there. The ability of the manufacturer to send his good from one part of the country to another in batches of railway, not in hauling with a trailer. If this don't happen, manufacturing in Nigeria will continue to be epileptic. And people will like to relocate where they will not have this type of problem. I tell you that most of bigger firms have relocated to our neighboring countries. They will produce there and send to us. And when they produce there and send to us, they sell to us at a higher price. And apart from selling to us at a higher price, Nigerian economy suffers because unemployment continues to increase. As of today, unemployment is 37.2%, as against maybe less than 10% before Buhari government came in. And this is because of all these things I'm saying, not because of assessing 9% loan. 9% loan has always been there. I thank the president for this. It's good, but he should make it holistic or make it wider so that others will be able to assess. So that's where the problem of manufacturing lies.
Okay. Okay, Prof, let's now talk about increase the minimum wage, which is also expected. With your experience, I want you to try to explain to us that if we have, for example, minimum wage at about 100,000 for a month, from the present 30,000, what will this mean for inflation? What do we mean for money in circulation? And how does it impact just the normal man on the streets that doesn't earn that minimum wage?
Thank you very much. Yeah, minimum wage and inflation, these have been always a very contentious and arguable issue. One, if minimum wage is increased, yes, there will be a minimal inflation increase, but it will not impact much. Tell me why. The reason is because what brings inflation is too much money facing few goods and services. Where is the money? With the staff. Some of them cannot even pay their children's school fees. Some of them cannot even pay their rent. So where is the purchasing power of those staff that will engender inflation? That one, if anybody is talking about this, it tells me the person doesn't understand the reality of Nigerian situation. The person is just talking what happens in other climes. In our own climate, people are hungry, people are angry, people are poor, and there's no food to eat, not to talk of other things. So how can this type of situation bring inflation? Then let me tell you more about Nigerian inflation, which MBS does not always take into consideration. Before this administration came in, the exchange of Nigerian naira to dollar was maybe 480, less than 500. Today, the exchange rate has come to 800 and sometimes more per dollar. Then the goods you were buying for 480 before, you now have to buy it for 800, twice the price, because of the floating of Nigerian naira. I've always said that floating of Nigerian naira in a country like Nigeria is not the best. I always say that it's not everything IMF tells you that you will take. It's not everything that World Bank tells you that you will take. Some of them are very strong pills that will give you sickness when you take them. Some countries don't take it. Don't take some of these things. Okay, if you look at this inflation that came as a result of this exchange rate, it has never happened anywhere. It has never happened in the country. And again, if you take it that Nigeria import over 80% of what they need locally because there's no manufacturing actually. If there's any, it is very minimal, which means Nigeria manufactures or produces around 20% of what they need. The remaining 80% come from outside. And for you to buy goods from outside, you have to exchange dollars. So that's the key problem we have with the inflation, which MBS does not take this thing into consideration at all. And I always say, if you are an economist, all these economic theories were written far, far, far back, and even on 7th century, 6th century, and 10th century. Some of them are no longer applicable. You have to apply what is feasible in your own country to make it work. So, where are the money? Where is the money from the from staff that will be paid 100,000 that will engender inflation? It will not even be sufficient for them, considering the fact that the fuel you were buying before for 180 naira is now costing you almost 617. So how can you can't even you can't even feed yourself. You can't even mobilize yourself to work, even with 100,000. So we have to look at any other thing causing our inflation, not increase. So there could be a minimal increase, if any. There are some increase that are insignificant that we disregard, that it has nothing in scientific world, on empirical analysis. So that one will be insignificant by the time we put it empirically. So the causes of our inflation are more than what we need. Then again, you look at the fact that we are not producing here. If you are not producing here, then you should expect your goods that are imported from outside to be more costly. So I said earlier that most multinationals have relocated.
All right.
Because the cost of doing business here is too high. The position of business here is very inimical to business. And some of them are no longer here. And if they are not here, you cannot produce enough for your people. Since you cannot produce enough for your people, it will cause inflation because you always have to import the good from outside. And those goods you import from outside will be based on the foreign exchange. I always say that government should try as much as possible to manage the foreign exchange, in as much as we are not producing enough for ourselves. By the time you start producing enough, you can now devalue your naira, because if you devalue your currency when you are producing much, you make your product cheaper outside. But if you are not producing much, you now devalue your currency, you make the good imported into your current country very costly. And that is the issue. But some of our economists don't even look at this.
All right, Prof, a lot to chew there. Prof, I must thank you. There's never enough time to talk about issues surrounding Nigeria's economy, but I must thank you, Professor of Accounting, Nile University, Professor Ofili Ugwudioha. Do have a great weekend. I will definitely continue this discussion. We must get it right, and we know that they are all listening to us, taking views from analysts like you and others. Do enjoy the rest of your day again.
Thank you very much, Tolu. And thank you and your group. I am happy to be here and hope to see you again.